Begin the current Daf, Masechta Shabbos Daf Kuf Yud Zayin. Begin the second line down the top of the Amud. Rashi continues in the previous Daf where the Gemara introduced a brisa that was Erev Pesach Shechalis for Shabbos that is related back to Halacha the Mishnah, that the Chacham in that dispute were trying to bring a raya from our Mishnah regarding Matzil and Tik HaSefer Im HaSefer. Rashi is co-sponsored by Kalzik and Yecheskel, Torah Anytime, Daf Chaim. Appreciate everyone who is joining us today. Some of this we're going to be speaking on today's Daf is, like we said, regarding this machlekes, regarding skinning the Korban Pesach and Erev Pesach Shechalis b'Shabbos. Chacham tried to bring a proof from our Mishnah regarding saving the container with the svarim, and that's what the Gemara keeps on discussing, saying, wait a second, it's not exactly the same type of machlekes. This we're going to discuss regarding this, that you could save from a fire. We have a machlekes in our Mishnah regarding, is that to a mavoi she'eina mefulish, which means to say that it's not open on both sides, or is it even to a mavoi mefulish, a mavoi, a dead end that's open on both sides, which has different halachas in regard to the laws of Erevin, regarding where do we permit this taking out the Sefer Torah and saving it. There's going to be three opinions regarding how to qualify this closed mavoi and this open mavoi. Additionally, regarding bringing the food into a chatzar with an Erev, the Gemara is going to wonder that why can't a person save an unlimited quantity? Why do we say you could only save mazon shalosh shudas if you're essentially taking it to a permitted area? Who cares that there's a fire? Why should it be forbidden to take out more into a chatzar? We're going to have two machlekes regarding employing a harama, and some of the key concepts of harama regarding what's called halachic subterfuge, which is doing like a trick, which halachically it's like a loophole regarding if that's permitted or not. Also regarding a basis as it applies to the laws of muktzah, which basis is something that supports a muktzah item, and we're going to have a discussion regarding that as it applies to the machlekes of Erev Pesach Shechalis b'Shabbos. Also, then there's something called basel dava aso dava muktzah. It's very important halacha in the laws of muktzah too. Let's say this supports both a muktzah and a non-muktzah item, then it's not considered muktzah. It's only a basis, something forbidden to be moved. If it's only, that's where you have the famous thing with the leichter. If it's the tray holding the leichter, so that's a basel dava aso, it's forbidden. But if you have something else over there that's a permitted thing, then it would not be considered a basis. It would not be considered as a muktzah item. Additionally, the concept of adam bol al mamayna, which is when it comes to a fire, or in things when the person's money is in danger, he becomes overwhelmed, he'll do things whatever it takes, and he might lose himself, and therefore that's where it relates to the laws of violating Shabbos. Also, the halach of Esav es benay. It's asur to shecht the parent, the mother, and the child, animal on the same day, and therefore that comes into situations where if it's going to be both of them, that you cannot do both on the same day, as it applies to the laws of malacha. Like we said, the halach of harama, halachic subterfuge, when you could do that, when you could not do that. And redias hapas, take it on the bread the way it used to be in Talmudic times in the ovens. They used to take the dough and slap it on the wall of the oven. So the redias hapas, taking the bread down from the oven, is what's called chachmehi ve'ena malacha. It's a skill. It's not an actual malacha. So really, biblically, it's permitted to take out the bread. But asam drabanan, because it's like a weekday type of activity. There's many things we don't do on Shabbos. And we call it not Shabbos thing. It's coming from the halacha concept of uvdi nechel. It's like a weekday type of a thing, and therefore it's rabbinically forbidden to be done. Also the concept of hoyel b'savad b'chad mitzvah l'savad b'mitzvah achrina, which means to say that if, let's say, something, a mitzvah was done with it once before, we want to do another mitzvah with it. We do that many times. We put the lulav in the fire. We do a lot of things. We did a mitzvah with it. Let's do another mitzvah, like bringing the chametz. So we're beginning now the second line down from the top of the Amud. We're in the middle of a discussion over here. We had a machlekes that the Gemara brought in because it relates back to the halach of the Mishnah, where the one may skim the entire Korban Pesach when Erev Pesach, which is when you do the avodah of the Korban Pesach on Shabbos. Shmuel ben Bereka, he said, you could only skim the animal up until the chest, because that's what's absolutely necessary, because then you could get out the imurim. More than that is unnecessary, and I'll do the malacha of Hafshata on Shabbos. Chum said, no, you could skin the entire Korban Pesach. Why? Because we said, Kol Pal Hashem L'maneu, keeps the meat fresh and treats it in a respectful manner. So therefore, you're allowed to go ahead and skin the whole animal. Now, the Gemara, the Brisa had a tradition that the Chacham use our Mishnah, Matzil and Tik HaSefer Im HaSefer, to support their opinion. How is our Mishnah support to their opinion? So Rashi explains, saving the Sefer, we let you do it because it's a tzarech gavaya for the sake of Hashem. Now, that's the same thing as the Korban Pesach. He allowed you up until the chest, which is l'tzarech gavaya, to remove the imurim, to be burned, so that's going to be mutter. Now, at the same time, just like by the Sefer Torah, you're allowed to save the container and the money inside, which is l'tzarech head of a personal gain. That's also mutter Once you're doing tzarech gavoy, we'll let you do tzarech hedyed. So then that's the same thing, say the chachamim, by the Korban Pesach. We let you skin the rest of the animal, which is tzarech hedyed, to eat the meat later that evening, is also going to be mutter, because once you're doing tzarech gavoy, we then let you do the tzarech hedyed. Then the Gemara says, wait a second, how could you compare the two of them? When you're saving the container and the money inside along with the tefillin, that's only the Issa Muktzah, which is Issa Drabanan. Here you're talking about skinning the entire Korban Pesach, that's Asa Midaraisa. How are you comparing the two of them? That's Tiltal, and this is Malacha. So we're in the middle of this discussion that the Gemara said, okay, fine, you're right. Really, they have two disputes. They have a machlekes regarding Tiltal and regarding Malacha. Right, regarding Malacha is no raya because Hafshat is skinning is a Malacha. That you can't compare to the Halacha of our Mishnah, which is only Halacha of Muktzah. They were disputing also regarding, are you allowed to move it besides skinning? Once it's skinned, you're allowed to move the skin. So, and that's what they want to bring a right from our Mishnah, that you're allowed to save the Tikka Sefer with the Sefer, so then you're allowed to also save the Oyer out of the Basar. So on that, the Gemara said, and that's the last thing we said on the top of the Amid, we said, is it comparable? It's still not the same thing. There it's a Basar, so Dava Mutter. There, the Sefer Torah is a Mutter thing. So the mantle of the Sefer Torah is not a muktzah thing. It's a base for a permitted thing. So if you're allowed to move the Sefer Torah, you're allowed to move the mantle too. And then you're allowed to save it together with the Sefer Torah. Here, in regards to the Korban Pesach, the meat of the Korban Pesach, the way Rashi explains it, is muktzah now. Because it has no utility now in Erev Pesach. You need it tonight. So, if anything, the oil, the skin that's the container of the basar, is a basar sadava asar. So you forget about saving it to wherever you want to take it to or moving it. You can't even move it because it's a muktzah item. And our Mishnah is not a muktzah item. So you're talking about saving. We'll talk about later in the daf regarding saving, what we limit, what you could say, what you can't say, but it's not a muktzah item. How are you comparing the two of them? That's what we're up to. El Rava says the Gemara that Hachi Kamerle. This is what the Chacham say to Rabbi Shmuel ben Eshur and Bereka regarding that they say that you're allowed to skin the animal all the way. They said like this. And it's regarding the tiltal item, because we said, so far we're in the Gemara's discussion right now that says they're disagreeing regarding two things, two separate machlokes. One is, are you allowed to skin the animal till the chest or up all the way? And then, as Tais explained, even if it's, let's say it was skinned all the way, but some violet or skinned all the way, now, could you move it or not? That's another machlokes that they have. And that's the Chama telling Rabbi Shmuel, if you're allowed to save the container of the Sefer Torah with the Sefer Torah. And this is important, and this is the main point that the Gemara is shifting now. Although that there's money inside of it, like we said in the Mishnah, now if there's money inside of it, that means to say that it was a basis, it was a base for something forbidden. It's not just the Sefer Torah inside. Let's say it's the tefillin. Not just is the tefillin inside, there's also money inside. So that means the tefillin zekel, the sack, is a basis, a base for a muktzah item of money, and still we say in the Mishnah that you're allowed to save it, you're allowed to go take it out. So shouldn't we be allowed to move the skin of the Korban Pesach because of the Korban Pesach? Yeah, the Korban Pesach meat is muktzah. But you see in our Mishnah, even though there's a muktzah item, you're allowed to save it. And because tzorchi gevaya, we let you tzorchi hedyed. So also, since we're letting tzorchi gevaya, we should let tzorchi hedyed. In the Mishnah, we said that you're allowed to save the Sefer Torah. Why? It's forbidden. So you say, and it's because if we let you doing it for Hashem's purposes, you're not just save anything.
Is only when there is Dover also, but over here there is also...
Right, that's the Gemara's text.
Oh.
Right, that's what we gave you, right, that's what we pointed out in the introduction. Yeah, good question. But that's what the Gemara is at this point saying. It's a base for a forbidden item, for a muktzah item, for money in the Mishnah. You say it because you're doing it for Hashem, you let it do yourself. Here also, even though it's a basis, a davar also, which they need, but once we're letting you do things for the tzarchi gavai, we should let you do for the tzarchi hedyed. Which the Gemara says, like we just heard, me dummy, is it comparable? Hasan nasa basis davar aser. In the halacha of the Mishnah, let's take the case of the tefillin. It's just more understandable because a lot of people have, let's say, stuff in their tefillin. Like you have money in over there. So yeah, the sack, your tefillin the tefillin container has inside of it something forbidden, which is money. Well, davamuta, it's also based on something that's permitted, which is the tefillin, in the sense of that you're allowed to go ahead and use it. There's a whole discussion regarding tefillin itself, but let's say the Sefer Torah. So it's a mutter thing. So hacha kuli nasa basal dabasa, but here the skin of the Korban Pesach is a base totally forbidden item, which is the Korban Pesach. So, and that's actually the halacha follows like this idea. If something is a base for a permitted thing and a forbidden thing, so it's permitted to go ahead and move it because it's for a permitted thing. Here it's a base for only forbidden things. So what do you compare? How could you compare? You're trying to say you could move the skin because, like you see in our Mishnah, even though it's a base for a forbidden thing, no, that's a bas davar asa and a davar mutter. Here it's a bas only a davar asa, that you can't move it. It wouldn't be arrived in Allah Mishnah.
Money is in the Sefer Torah already, or in the Tefillin.
Right, the money's inside, but there's also something permitted inside.
Right, the only way, I'm just saying in addition, the only way to get around it would be to take the money out prior to moving the tefillin. You're allowed to move the tefillin with the Sefer Torah, so you'd have to take which is even worse, because now you're moving only the davar asa. How else would you save it?
So the Gemara is going to discuss this actually right now. You'll see in the next Gemara's discussion, he's going to talk about that regarding getting it in or getting it out. So the Gemara says, right now, so the Gemara doesn't understand what you're comparing to the halacha of the Mishnah. So the Gemara says, Ela rather hachi kamalei. This is what the Chacham were telling to Rabbi Shmuel. If you let it go ahead and bring a regular purse, a regular container, that has money inside of it from wherever it is, which that purse is a bus, is only a double that's totally usher. It was only a base for something forbidden. You're allowed to take lahatzal by sefer Torah. Let's say there's a sefer Torah and you need something to carry it with. So the Gemara is assuming right now, you're allowed to take a container that had money and put the sefer Torah inside of it to save it, and you don't have to throw out the money, as the Gemara is going to explain. If that's permitted, so shouldn't be allowed to move the skin secondary to the meat, meaning even though it's a basal daba asr, but you see in the Sefer Torah, in the halacha of the Mishnah, you're allowed to do that too. There's a fire. What do we do with the Sefer Torah? How are we going to get it out? I can't carry it. So he says, okay, grab that big container where we keep the money for that stuff. Go ahead and take that. So the Gemara is assuming you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to take the container that's a muktzah, it's a basal dava asa, to get the Sefer Torah in to take it out. That's a basal only the dava asa. And still you're allowed to do that in the halacha of our Mishnah. So that's the same thing over here. If we let you go ahead because of tzarchi gavaya, you're allowed to do things with the Korban Pesach, so you should be allowed to go ahead and move the skin, even though it's a basal dava asa. That's what the Gemara is assuming, but the Gemara says, wait, he said, where'd you get to say different? Who said that doesn't say in the halacha of the Mishnah? And it says you could save the tik ha-sefer, im ha-sefer, even though there's money inside. And no one ever said clearly that you're allowed to take some pushka or whatever it is, some container of money, and bring it straight up if it doesn't have a sefer Torah inside of it. So the Gemara says, Elam, if you're going to say, from the fact that when there is money in the sefer, we don't require you to throw out the money. Like we said, even though there's money inside, you could save it with the money inside. So then you're presuming that isuyu name ma'asina. That means to say, yeah, so then you could also bring it from wherever it is, from one of the corners of the house. You could take a container that has money inside of it and put inside the sefer and save it. That's what the Gemara is saying. Is that what you're presuming, that that's the same thing? Says the Gemara, me dummy, is that comparable? Where the sefer is together with the money, and you're going to take it right now to take it outside with the sefer. Hasam, over there, when the sefer and the money has inside of it, the reason why you don't have to throw it out, and this was someone just brought up, is that the hachi b'hachi nafla dleika. What do you mean? If you're going to be busy taking out the money, the fire is going to burn up the sefer Torah. So therefore, we let you run out of the shul, we let you run out of the house with the sefer Torah in the container that has the money inside of it. We don't make you throw out the money. Hach over here, when you're bringing that container that has money inside, we need something to take out the sefer Torah, quickly get something, get a bag. Now the bag has money inside. We just went shopping and we have this huge bag from Whole Foods and this huge bag, but there's money inside with the receipt over there. What do? So throw it out as you're running, as you're coming. Spill out the money and bring the bag. So the Gemara says, where do you get this idea from? That you want to bring a ride from the halacha of the Mishnah that even if something is a basal double asa, that bag with the money inside is only a base for something forbidden. There's no food inside. There's only money inside. That's a muktzah thing. The bag itself is muktzah. That's called the laws of buses. That's one of the big topics that discussed in the laws of muktzah. In our case, that who said that's going to be permitted that you could do that? The Mishnah doesn't say that. And if you're saying, well, I see that when you're taking out the sefer Torah, you don't have to throw out the money there. Seriously, you don't have to throw out the money. It's not the same thing. Here, the reason why you don't have to throw out the money when you're taking out the sefer Torah is because the sefer Torah is going to get burnt. But here, you're running anyways to the sefer Torah. As you're running, spill out the money. So the Gemara rejects this interpretation and says, Ella, rather, you're right. Forget about everything we said up until now. Let's keep the brisa simple. The brisa was only discussing regarding skinning the animal. If you could skin it up until the breast, or could skin the whole animal. Nothing to do with, as we tried answering and saying, wait a second, it doesn't make sense. Come on, bring it right from our Mishnah. Our Mishnah is discussing total muktzah, which is the Rabbanan. They're discussing hafshata, skinning. So rather, Amar Rabash says, Lo'im Kedamin Meikar. Let's go back how we originally said the brayso. The machlek is only regarding skinning, not regarding moving the skin of total of muktzah. And what's the Rabbanim being a raya from Tikka Sefer of our Mishnah, of the container of the Sefer, that you could save the money with the Sefer Torah? Is this concept what's called Tzarchi Hedid, that you could do Agav Tzarchi Gevaya? Once we let you do things for Hashem's sake, you're allowed to do things for the person's, for the human's sake. And since he doesn't have time to throw out the money, you're allowed to take the Sefer Torah with that bag with the money. Here also, because of Tzarchi Gevaya, of Kol Pal Hashem Lameneyu, so we let you go ahead and you're allowed to skin the animal. Oh, but that's what we said with the kakasha. But then you're going to ask, hacha tiltil over here in our Mishnah is only regarding moving a muktzah item. But v'hacha malacha, here's regarding skinning. How could you be a raya that we let you do muktzah of tzarchi gevaya, we let you do for tzarchi hedyed? That's halacha of our Mishnah. How are you being a raya to your machlek is regarding skinning the animal? If you let you skin the animal till the breast, so we could get a deimun which is tzarchi gevaya, then you could skin the whole animal. What does that mean? But that's a malacha deraisa of skinning. How could you compare a Rabbanan, rabbinic, that we let you do tzarchi hedyed to a malacha deraisa of skinning? That says Gemara, it's not a malacha deraisa. Why not? Skinning is a malacha. One says malachas. Says Gemara, we're talking about where he doesn't need the skin. If he doesn't need it, that means he's not meskaven, he's not intending to skin it, and therefore it's not the same thing as the. Where do we learn that all the malachas? From the Mishkan. When they had the rams and the tchashim in the Mishkan that they would skin it to get the hides to use for their ureas, their intention was for the skin. That was intended. So therefore, here where it's in meskaven, it's not going to be the malacha deraisa. That's a davar she'en meskaven. Says the Gemara, wait a second. But Rabbi and Rabbi Damatavai, they both say, even Reb Shimon, he's the one who holds davar she'en meskaven is not the malacha deraisa. It's not intended, it's not biblically forbidden. He agrees with psik reisha v'lo yamuz. What's called, if you're going to cut off the head, it's not going to die. If it's inevitable, so then it is considered malacha. Here, even though you're not intending, you're obviously skinning the animal. You know you're coming to skin. It's not masasik. You know what you're coming to do. How does that make it non-biblical? Says the Gemara, you write a different interpretation. It's talking about the shokali babarzi. We're talking about where he takes it with combs of iron, which are thin strips that he's skinning it and cutting it. Where, as Rashi explains, that's not the normal way of skinning, and therefore it's not a malacha. It's only going to be rabbinically forbidden. And that's why it's comparable to the halacha of the Mishnah. Muktzah is rabbinic. Skinning in thin strips is also not the normal way of skinning. When you skin an animal, you want the whole hide. If you're cutting in thin strips, that's only rabbinically forbidden, and therefore we could compare. If it's tzarchi hedyed you allow because of tzarchi gevaya by muktzah, then we could compare to say regarding the halacha of erev pesach shechalis b'Shabbos, that's also the skinning is also only rabbinic because you're doing it in thin strips. Therefore, that's going to be permitted to be done. That was the raya the Rabbanan were bringing, the Chum were bringing from the halacha of the Mishnah. Now we continue with the halacha of the Mishnah. We said we said okay. So that's we opened up this parak. We said that when there's a fire, you're allowed to go ahead and save kisvei kodesh. And the last Mishnah we had said you're allowed to save it even with the container, even if there's money inside. But then there was a machlekes in the Mishnah where you're allowed to save this kisvei kodesh. Tanakama says to a mavoi that is eina mefulish, which means to say it's not open on both sides. And Ben Beseir said that even if it's mefulish, even if it's open on both sides. Now the Gemara presumes that it's not so clear what does it mean open and closed. And there's three different opinions about what does it mean open and closed. So Heichadam Mefulish says the Gemara, what does it mean that it's open according to Ben Beseira? And Heichadam She'en Mefulish, what does it mean that it's not open according to the Talmud Kama? So we have three different opinions in the Gemara. What does Machlekes is? Amar Rav Chizli says, Shalish Mechitzes V'Shnei L'Chayayim. If there's three walls and there's two side posts, which is for the opening that does not have a mechitza, which the halachas of Shituf and Mavayis, we'll discuss this at great length in the next Masechta, is that when you have a Mavay, which is the way they used to have it in Talmudic times, was that you had the houses open into a courtyard. Courtyards would open up into a Mavay, and the Mavay would open up into the Rishus HaRabim. So you could think of it in this sense of like a cul-de-sac. So what they had, and then they had to do, and they had to share the food and put it into one place, and then they would be considered as if it's one big common area, and they're allowed to carry one with the other. Now, with that said, that there's a machlekes regarding a tanaim, what is considered closing off the mavli. So some say that you have to have two lechis, some say only one lechis, or a lechi and a kaira, or just a lechi or a kaira, but that's what we need to have. There's as a way of rabbinically closing off the area, either as a side post. You see this as commonly by Erevin, people are putting up these sticks with that's making it Tzuras HaPesach. That's the idea we're discussing over here regarding the mother. Now, as we're going to see in the Gemara's discussion, we're creating a certain leniency regarding kisser because regarding saving a Sefer Torah or Tefillin, we create certain leniencies. Question is, how lenient? And that's what the Gemara is discussing over here. What is it that we're considering the Mavi Mefulish and Mavi She'en Mefulish? So Chizah says, Shalish Mechitzis V'shnei L'chayayin. When there's 3 walls and there's 2 lechis, as you have over here on this picture on the right, Zeh Mavi She'en Mefulish. That's a Mavi that's not open. In other words, it's a Mavi really that's permitted with all the halachas, whether for the laws of Erev and for other things, all the heter of all the Mavais it has, like Shetuvim Mavais, like we said, if they join together in a Mavi, that would be considered as a bona fide area of a permitted Mavi. Now, give them Mechitzah B'lechi. Let's say there's 3 walls, but only has 1 lechi. So that Mavi Mefulish, that's considered a Mavi that's open. So although it is closed on this side, but we consider it open because it's not closed off on this side. It's like, it doesn't really have the 4th wall because it only has 1 lechi. As the Gemara explains, V'tavayu, both Rabban and Ben Beseira are libed Rabbi Eliezer, going like Rabbi Eliezer, which he says a Mavi is not going to be considered as a Mavi to be closed with 1 lechi. Now, then the Seir is saying that, but by saving Kisva Kodesh, you don't need the 2 lechis like Rebbe Eliezer usually holds. In this case, to save the Sefer Torah, it'll be sufficient with 1 lechi, with 1 side post. It's not like when the Mishnah says Erevin, that Hechshem Mavi, what's considered the validation of a Mavi that you could carry inside of it. So Bisham Erevin, they say Lechi B'Kara. They say you require a side post and a crossbeam. Ubesil Erevin, they say Oy Lechi Oykara, either a side post or a crossbeam. Again, the side post is a vertical stick and the crossbeam is a horizontal stick. Rabbi Eliezer, he says, and that's the point we want to bring across, he holds Shnei L'chayayim, he holds you need to have 2 lechis. So, again, the Rabbanan, they assume, totally like the Rabbanan, that it has to, like Rabbi Eliezer, has to have 3 walls and 2 lechis. But Rabbi says, no, Rabbi Eliezer would agree over here to say the Sefer Torah would be enough with 1 lechi. The problem is, Rabbi says, Gimel Mechitz of Lechi Echad, it has 3 walls and 1 side post. Mefulish Karaslay, that you're calling an open Mavi? What do you mean? Although Rabbi Eliezer requires 2 lechis, but how could you call that a Mavi Mefulish? How could you explain that as the opinion of Ben Beseira, that that's an open Mavi? If it has 1 side, it's not open, it's closed on all 3 sides, and it has a lechi. Like more of a Rabbanan that you said, that when they say that it's not open, you're saying it means like a bona fide Mavi that has all the heterim of all the halachas, because it has 3 sides and it has 2 lechis. So you should be allowed to save inside of it food and beverage just like by a joint courtyard. Why does our Mishnah separate? That our Mishnah talks about saving a Sefer Torah, and that says you could do it to a Mavi that's not mefulish, a Mavi that's not open, but by food items on Daf Kufchav, that says, we allowed to save the food to? We say, to a chatzah moreb is to a joint courtyard. That sounds like only to a chatzah, which is more of a rishus hayachid than to a mavi. Why? The way you're describing your mavi to save the kisser kodesh is a regular permitted area that you're allowed to carry into. So why wouldn't you be allowed to carry into if you're saying that's what it means, that it's considered mavi, shein mefulish? Se'elam Rabbi disagrees. He gives a second interpretation. He says, we're talking about where there's shtei mechitzas. There's only 2 walls on either side. V'shnei l'chayayin. And there's 2 side posts, meaning each opening has a side post, not the way we just said Shnei L'chayayim. When we just said before, according to Rabbi Eliezer, Shnei L'chayayim, we said 1 was here and 1 was over here. Now we're not talking about because it was closed on the 3rd side. Here the 2 lechis are 1 over here and 1 over here on the other side, meaning each opening has 1 lechi. Zeh mavish ein mefulish. That, according to that's the Rabbanan's it's not open. It's not open because it has a side post on either side, as if that's closing it on both sides. But let's say it has the 2 walls and it has 1 side post. That's an open mother. As the Gemara explains, what does that mean? Open? They both look open to me. It says, but both are going according to Rabbi Yehuda, that he actually says on Shabbos it's enough to have 2 walls and 2 lechis to go ahead and close off an area. And Rabbi Beseira is coming to say regarding a Sefer Torah, to save it from a fire on Shabbos, if you would agree that it's not enough with 1 lechi, because that would be considered like 3 walls, and that's going to be sufficient to save a Sefer Torah. They have like learned in a brisa. Yes, I can Rabbi Yehuda. It's told over there, the leniency of Rabbi Yehuda says even more than this Rabbi Yehuda says. It says, Mishesh l'shnei batim. Someone has 2 houses. B'shnei tzidi rishus ram, 2 sides of the rishus ram, which essentially is like the picture we have over here, which is 2 walls. So you can make a side post over here and a side post over here. Or a crossbeam over here and a crossbeam on the other side of the house. But you could carry a middle of Rosh Hashanah, because that's really closing it off as Rosh Hashanah, because he holds 2 walls is enough, as long as you make a side post or a crossbeam on either side. To which Amalei, the Chacham say to Rabbi Yehuda, says, no, you can't close off and make a private joint area from Rishus Ram like that. But one thing is, that's what Rabbi is coming to explain, that Machlekes Rabbanan and Ben Beseira is, according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, that he holds 2 mechitzas and 2 lechis are enough. The question is, what's he going to hold if he was saying the same Torah? Rabbanan are going to hold you need to have 2 lechis, and Ben Beseira is going to say no, it's enough with 1 lechi. To which Amalei Abai asks on Rabbi's interpretation, says, according to you also, you could ask the same question that you asked on the previous interpretation. That since you're saying that Bodim hold like Rabbi Yehuda, so the Rabbanan that they say that you could save the Sefer Torah only to a mother that's not open, and you're explaining that they're going according to Rabbi Yehuda. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, you're not lacking anything in a bona fide kosher mother to carry him, which he only requires 2 walls and 2 lachis. So therefore, according to Rabbanan, not full teifeich lemashkin, you should be allowed to save food and beverages. They're just like into a joint courtyard. Your mother she'ein mefulish is the same thing as a permitted mother going according to Rabbi Yehuda. He doesn't require anything more. So why only let us save kisvei kodesh there? And then we'll see in a later Mishnah, and food and drink only to chatzim mareves. Why not? Why can't you save to this mother she'ein mefulish? So rather, the Gemara says a third interpretation, as we continue on the base, Elamar Rabashi. Rather, Rabashi says, both according to Rabbanan and according to Ben Beseira, they hold like Rabbi Eliezer that we mentioned before, that requires 3 walls and 2 lachis in general. Here regarding the Sefer Torah, the Rabbanan say Rabbi Eliezer would agree that you only need 1 lechi, and Ben Beseira is saying that Rabbi Eliezer would agree that you don't need any lechi. So according to everyone, it's not the same as it normally is. Its question is, are we going 1 step down or 2 steps down? As the Gemara explains. Shalish mechitzas b'lechi echad. What do the Rabbanan mean when they say zel mavish ein mefulish? What's the closed mavi? It's talking about when there's 3 walls and 1 lechi. Gimel mechitzas b'lei lechi, when there's 3 walls without a lechi, without any side post at all. Zel mavi mefulish. That's what we're calling the open mavi. That's the opinion of Ben Beseir. As the Gemara explains. According to Rabbi says you need to have 2 lechis in general. That's for food and drink. That's meaning, according to the opinion of Rabbanan, that they would be sufficient even with 1 lechi. According to Rabbi he says Rabbi will hold it would be sufficient even without any lechi at all. So therefore, this is where we can understand how the questions are not difficult on Rav Ashi. You cannot say oich lemashkin because oich lemashkin needs to have 3 walls and 2 lechis. And therefore, that's the machlekes that we're having between Rabbanan and Beseira, either that it's that it's 3 walls and only 1 lechi, where in general you need to have 2 lechis, or Ben Beseira says no, to say the kisei kodesh we're even more lenient. As long as you have 3 walls, and even if you don't have any lechis, it's going to be permitted to save the kisei kodesh.
Finish on both sides. Everybody holds the anonymous.
No, Yehuda says open on both sides when you have 2 lechis is good. That's what Yehuda. So it's a machlekes tanaim. We'll see this more in the next Masechet Midrashim and Eruvin. But we're just saying in our Mishnah that we're saying who are these tanaim going like? The Gemara concluded from Rav Ashi they're going in the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer that generally you need to have 3 walls and 2 lachis. But could you say kisvei kodesh? And we're lenient regarding 1 lechi or no lechis, which are both a leniency. The question is how far we're going with that. So we continue with the next Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, as we mentioned before, we said a discrepancy regarding saving food, which our Mishnah doesn't say exactly where, like we had in our previous discussion of Kisvei Kodesh. First we spoke about it, then the next Mishnah spoke about where you're allowed to save it. Here also, now we're moving on from saving from a fire, not from saving Kisvei Kodesh, we're moving on to food. Matzilim Mazni Gimel Suda says the Mishnah, you're allowed to save the food worth of 3 meals from a burning building, from a fire. You're allowed to save food that you need for the 3 meals of Shabbos. Whatever is food for the humans, you save for the people. People like Meir would be, takes out the animal food, what's fit for animals, you save for the animals. Says the Mishnah Ketzad. How so? So it depends really actually when the fire starts regarding how much you're allowed to save. If the fire started on Friday night, before you ate your Friday night meal, then Matzil Mozni Gimel Sudas, you're allowed to save 3 meals worth because you didn't eat any of the 3 meals yet. B'shachris, but let's say the fire was in the morning before the meal, then Matzil Mozni Beis Sudas, you're allowed to save 2 meals worth because you didn't eat this morning meal and Shalosh Sudas. B'mincha, if the fire happened in the afternoon, so then Mozni Sudachas, then you're allowed to save only 1 meal because you didn't have Shalosh Sudas yet. That's the opinion of Tanna Kama. On that, Rabbi Shloimy says no. He says you're always allowed to save 3 meals worth. Why? What do you mean? You already ate Shalosh Shudas. It's an hour before you had the 6 o'clock Shalosh Shudas. And then there's a fire. Why are you allowed to save all? So as Rashi explains, because this is a day that permits you to save 3 meals worth. And because there is that permissibility if you need it, so therefore it's not considered as a muktzah item, and you're allowed to save it to a shared courtyard. And the truth is, Rashi explains, really, you should be able to save more than 3 meals worth. You should be able to save your whole pantry. And if not for Gzeira, as the Gemara is going to explain. So, but we limit it up until 3 Sudas, and that's what we're saying that even if you ate the Sudas, it's okay, you're still allowed to save the Shalosh Sudas. That was not including the Gzeira of the Rabbanan, as we're going to see what's the reason why it's even forbidden. As the Gemara asks, the Gemara says, wait a second, Mechti, let's see. This is something you're permitted to do. These are not muktzah items, these are food items. Where you're taking it out to, as we'll see on the next Mishnah, you're taking it out to a shared courtyard. So not so tzvei. You should be able to save more food. Why are we limiting you to saving 3 meals worth of food? Well, what's the problem? You're going to your courtyard that has an eruv, and it's food that you're eating. It's chalent and kishka and whatever, or whatever you have in the fridge. Why can't you empty out your fridge? Says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi says a very important concept. Since a person is overwhelmed regarding his money, this is where the psychology of the Chazal comes in. If you would permit the person to start saving his stuff, so since he's overwhelmed, he's going to forget that it's Shabbos, and also he's going to come to put out the fire and extinguish the fire and violate a malach of Shabbos of Kibui. So therefore we say no, 3 meals worth, and that's it, so that you know that's it, you can't do anything more, and that you're not going to come to do things which are wrong. If not, in the heat of the moment, no pun intended, you might come to go ahead and put out the fire. That's not permitted. For that's Gzeira D'Rabbanan that we limit you to 3 meals worth. Now, Abai says, wait a second. If that's the reason why you say that there's certain situations that when it comes to food, we don't let you save because you might come to do malacha, so then Elahad Tanya, let me ask you the following brisa. The brisa says, if a person's barrel breaks on the top of his roof, maybe kli umanich tachtel. So you're allowed to put as you see in this picture, you're allowed to put a vessel beneath the roof and let it drip into the vessel. As long as you don't bring another vessel and you put it to gather with the drip that's dripping from the airspace, or kli achav yitzarf, or to go ahead and take another vessel and attach it near the roof, as if you're trying to sponge it into the bowl, which Tosfos says is what's called zu avzu, meaning not only can you not put the bowl on the bottom, which is recognizable, you're coming to save this forbidden, even to put it up there on the top, which is not necessarily so recognizable because not everyone's seeing it dripping down into your bowl. Either way, you're not allowed to put anything more than just one bowl there on the bottom to catch the dripping wine. Says Abaya, Hasamai Gzeira. Well, what's the problem? It's in your chutzner. Well, what are you doing wrong by putting bowls to catch the wine that's dripping down? If it's something that's permitted, why can't you put it and catch? So the answer is no. Rabbi says here's the same thing. Here's also the same rabbinic issur. It's a rabbinic concern. If we let you start saving your wine that dripped down, yeah, it's in your house, it's permitted wine. What would be the problem? Is because you're going to try to get bowls, quick, and someone's going to forget, run across the street to the neighbors, and come and bring the bowl through the Rosh Hashanah, and because of that, yes, you're not allowed to take more than just that one bowl and put it at the bottom and save. If we let you go ahead and save, you're going to go and get overwhelmed and get confused and come to violate a malach of Eitzah on Shabbos. Therefore, that's forbidden.
Anything can happen if he doesn't have one bowl. He has to run to get the first bowl.
Right. So in the Chanam, but it sounds like from the Chazal that that one bowl, one thing is a limited quantity, similarly to like we said regarding the Shalosh Shudas. So why do you say over there Shalosh Shudas is going to come to put out the fire? That's a limited quantity. Okay, that's all I can take out. When it's unlimited, that's when you start getting overwhelmed. That's when you start getting confused. I hear the Shaila. It sounds like that's not considered as a concern. Now, Gufa, now the Gemara goes actually to discuss this halacha and says, once we introduced it, because it's related to the halacha that we said, so the Gemara says, if a barrel breaks on the top of the roof, so we said, maybe kli manichtach there. We said you could put a vessel underneath it, as long as you don't have another vessel to come to carry it, or kli achav yitzarf, or put another vessel up there by the roof to try to get it and flow right in. But says the Bryce to the following halacha. Let's say he has gas. Oh, then maybe kli achav yikla, because then you're allowed to put another vessel to catch it. Or kli achav yitzarf, or we put another vessel in to go ahead and to catch it over there, because you need it for the gas. So therefore then, it's not just because you're coming to save. When you have a save mentality, you'll do crazy things. If you're doing it for the gas, that's different. Now, but what you cannot do is, you can't save and then invite guests, because when you're saving it, you didn't need it. You can't say, okay, you know what, let me save it, and then I'll invite the guest. No. Rather, you could first invite the guest, and then you could save it. But you can't save and then invite. And it says the Brisa, and you can't make any tricks over here, any subterfuge, to invite guests that don't really need to eat, and then it's really going to be left over. No, you can invite guests and have actual guests who want to drink the wine. But you can't, quote unquote, invite the guests who are not really coming. That says the Tani Kami, not allowed to do that. Now, he says actually, you actually could do this subterfuge. You actually could, quote unquote, invite the guest. Oh, you're coming to me for the Shabbos meal? Okay, great, because I have a barrel that's breaking right now, and I think I need it for all you guys. You guys are big wine drinkers, so you guys are my guests. So that's the machlekes. Could you do this harama or not? Says the Gemara, shall we say that this is a machlekes tanoim that we find in another context, which it will be the same idea as this discussion, as this machlekes we have over here in our brisa. Because Tanya learned a brisa. If a mother animal and the son fell into the pit on Yom Tov, now you can't slaughter both of them, as we said, on the same day, because there's an issa in the Torah of Oisei ves B'nai. Now let's slaughter the mother animal and the child animal on the same day. So what do? Now, if a regular animal falls into the pit, so you're allowed to take out the animal because it's Yom Tov, you're allowed to slaughter it. So the animal's not going to get harmed by being in the pit because you can take it and slaughter it. But what do you do if Oisei ves B'nai fell into the pit? You can't take them both out because it's not a Yom Tov purpose. Because you can't slaughter both of them. What are you taking it for? So we have a machlekes tanoim. Rabbi says malas arishon amanas l'shachta. So you take out the first one with the intention of slaughtering it. And the second one, you support it. You provide its nutrients in the pit so that it doesn't die. But you're right, you can't take it out because what's the excuse you're taking it out? Not to shechta because you can only do one of them. Rabbi Shloimy says no. Malas arishon amanas l'shachta. You take out the first one with the intention of slaughtering it. And you don't slaughter it. Like Rashi explains, you find some type of excuse and you say, you know what, maybe the second one is fattier than this one. Right? You know, I wanted to slaughter this one, but I'm not so sure anymore. And then, then you use this trick, and then you take out the second one. Ratzav, he wants to zeshach, he slaughters this one. Ratzav zeshach wants to, he slaughters the other one. So says the Gemara, this is the same machlekes as our previous brisa. We said regarding if the barrel breaks, and then you could invite guests and then save the wine. So he said, can you do a harama? Can you trick, like make believe, like whatever, that you need the guest, but you're not really going to have it in the leftover? Or can you not? Isn't that the same thing over here? You have both animals in the pit, a mother and a child. You can't slaughter both of them on the same day, and Yom Tov, and you can't do unnecessary tircha. So, okay, one Torah says, so fine, you can only take out one, and the other one you have to leave inside. The other one says, no, you take out one that you're going to slaughter, and you say, you look it over, and you say, no, I don't really want this one, and then you take it the second one. Isn't that the same machlekes that we have in the case of the wine? So the Gemara says, no. Mimai. Who said so? Dilma ad kam lekam Rabbi Eliezer Hasa. Maybe Rabbi Eliezer says over there that in the case of the animals that you cannot do haram, you can't do this trick, because the efshep panos. It's almaisa. It's ultimately you could support the animal in the pit, and therefore, what's the excuse of taking it out? But here by the barrel that broke, there's nothing else you could do. I don't have the guess. So maybe over there, the law he wouldn't hold that you would be stuck. Maybe he would hold that you could do haram over this. It's not necessarily the same thing. And also the other way around, we could say, where do we find over there B'shua by the animals that you could do harama, that you could take out both animals, because there's an excuse. The animal's in pain, and that's a biblical command of tzar b'lechaim. So we let you use the trick. We're here where the wine that's being wasted is not the tzar b'lechaim. Then maybe we wouldn't let you go ahead and do that because of the concern that you might come to do something forbidden, and there is not a raya that this is necessarily the same machlekes that we have. Maybe here that, like we said, by the animals there's an alternative, and here by the wine there's no other way to save the wine. And therefore, there's not necessarily comparable in either way between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. Now, to continue on this topic of our Mishnah regarding saving food from a fire on Shabbos. So talking about Lina Brisa, the Gemara makes an interesting qualification. Hitzel pas nekiya. If you saved refined bread for the 3 meals of Shabbos, so ein matzel pas hadra. So you can't save any more coarse bread. Why is it called hadra? Rashi says because it's hadara. Its beauty was taken away because it's coarse bread. Now the reason is you can't use any valid subterfuge to say, oh, you know what, I need bread for the three meals. I know I took 3 refined pieces of bread, but I need that coarse bread. No one is going to listen to you to say, I need the coarse bread, because if you have refined bread, you're obviously not eating the coarse bread. Now, but in the inverse, If let's say pasta draw, let's say you save the coarse bread, matzah pasta like here, you could still save the refined bread because it's a higher quality. And even though you could only save 3 meals worth, you say, I know, but I took the shmata bread. I don't want that. I want to have the good bread for the Shabbos. Then you're allowed to go ahead and save the other bread because it's still for the 3 sudas. So this is the Brayso Matzilim Yom Kippur to Shabbos. If let's say Yom Kippur is on Erev Shabbos, you're allowed to save from Yom Kippur to Shabbos. But like Shabbos Yom Kippur, you cannot say from Shabbos to Yom Kippur. So like Rashi says, for example, if let's say Yom Kippur falls on Sunday, so Rashi says that since you're not eating anyways till Sunday night, so you cannot go ahead and save on Shabbos for Matzah Yom Kippur on Sunday night, which Tosfos wonders why would you be able to, because it says on Matzah Yom Kippur it's like a mitzvah, it's like a Yom Tov. Still we're saying you can't save from Shabbos to Yom Kippur. But sure you're not allowed to save on Shabbos for Yom Tov, because in Yom Tov you can prepare. You're allowed to make bread. You're allowed to do all these different things. You're not allowed to save from Shabbos to Yom Tov. And Malay Shabbos to Shabbos Abba, neither are you allowed to save from Shabbos for the coming Shabbos itself. A similar type of halacha of what's called, so to speak, saving. We only let you for 3 meals worth. We're in the Brayso. Shachach pas b'tanav. Let's say someone forgot bread in the oven near Shabbos. Now the problem is you're not allowed to bake bread until it's fully baked before Shabbos. Let's say someone forgot. The Kiddush Alavayim, and Shabbos already started. So that was a shogig, and it's actually passed in the Shulchan Aruch, that some people that bake last second, and it was baking on Shabbos. You're not supposed to do that. If it did b'meizer, it would be aser. You forgot, and it baked, and now it's there. So we don't let you just use it. It's forbidden because it baked on Shabbos. But what you can do is matzilin. It has the word like matzilin. It's not the same fire, obviously. We're not talking about a house is on fire. The oven has a fire. But matzilin mazon shalosh, we let you, quote, save 3 meals worth. And that's how much we let you take, because you need for Shabbos. So although you're not allowed to have the benefit of that bread or that cake, whatever baked, but for the 3 meals worth, we let you go ahead and take it. And moreover, you could also tell others, come save for yourself. Meaning others could also use for their Shabbos sudas. Now, when he's taking down the bread, he's not allowed to take it down with this special tool that they had, like a spatula type of a tool that they would take the bread down to separate it from the wall. Like we said in Talmudic times, they slap the dough on the wall. You're not allowed to take it down with that marda because that's a weekday type of activity. Rather, you need to take like a knife. Take something like that's not a weekday type of tool to take down the bread. Well, as the Gemara says, is that really so? But Rabbi Shmuel, he says in the Torah, you're not doing any malacha on Shabbos. That excludes us in blowing the shofar. We're taking down the bread from the oven wall. That's only considered an art. It's not a malacha. Why can't you take with the marga? Why can't you take with that spatula down from the wall of the oven? Says the Gemara, but kama de efshel l'shnui mashnina. As much as you could deviate, as change, you're going to change, because this is what's called uvdin nechayr. Many things we don't do in Shabbos is because it looks like a weekday type of activity. Taking the marda is like a weekday type of activity. Therefore, if you could change, then we make you do that and take it down with like a knife or something different. Now the Gemara concludes this daf with many different halachas relating to the laws of Shabbos, which is what we're discussing over here. Rav Chisda says, a person should always get up early on Erev Shabbos to go through the effort and to prepare Leitzar Shabbos for the Shabbos expenses. Shanamai says the pasuk, and some people the Friday morning right after davening they go quickly to go buy stuff, and some people there's discussion, can you go even before davening? Shanamai says regarding the month, it says that it was on the 6th day, on Friday, that they prepared that which they're going to bring, which sounds like that when they're bringing is when they prepared it. Now, the bringing of the man was early in the morning, like it says in Shemais Tezayin. So that sounds like la'alter. Right away, they started preparing it. Right when they got it, you should start preparing the Shabbos things early Friday in the morning. Amr Baba, he says, b'Shabbos, on Shabbos, Chaim Adam Levtzaya, a person has to go ahead and make the bracha of Amitzi al Shtei Kikaros on 2 loaves of bread. Where do we see this? The Chesed, it says in Pasuk, Lechem Mishnah, the double bread that they had on Friday, they had 2 portions of man. So therefore, when it comes to Shabbos, you should make Hamaitzi on what we call Lechem Mishnah, on 2 loaves of bread. Now actually, Omar Abashi says, Chazin Leil Rav Kahana, he says, Aislu Bar Rav Kahana, did no ketarti. He would hold both loaves of bread when he made the bracha, but ubatzachada, he would only break one of the breads. Amar, he says, because loktu ksiv. It says in the pasuk, it was on the 6th day, and they would be loktu Lechem Mishnah. What that means to say is they gathered 2 portions, which means they would hold it, but the actual breaking of the bread doesn't say Mishnah. So when he made the bracha, he held both, but when he cut the bread, he only cut one of the chalas, not both. Reb Zera have a batzar kulish l'ritter. Reb Zera, he would give such a big piece of challah, a big piece that was enough for the whole meal for kavod Shabbos, because it looks like he loves and endears the Sudav Shabbos to go ahead and eat a lot. To which Amli Ravina Vasha says, but so you look like a glutton. What was this? A gross shtick of challah? Is this what you're taking for yourself? Amalei said to him, "Keeping the chol yom, but since every day I don't do this, but they know who the kavod. It's only today that I do this. So loy metzli krav sinus. It doesn't look like a gluttony. People say Lukovic Shabbos Kodesh, and people say Kovic Shabbos Kodesh. Kovic the Bayit was no. Look at me the whole week. I'm eating grass the whole week. Come Kim Shabbos, I eat chul and kishke. That's Lukovic Shabbos Kodesh. It doesn't look like Rav Sanisa because obviously doing it for Shabbos. The Gemara says Rabami Brabasi Kimiklo who rifta de ruba when they had a piece of bread that was used for the eruv, where an eruv is that you take everyone's bread and you put it into one person's house. So it's like as if they have it's a one joint campus. So sometimes the eruv was in their house, and sometimes it's in someone else's house. But when the eruv bread was in their house, shari iloveh. Shari means like they would start. Means say they would make the bracha b'maitzi, which is the beginning of the eating. They would make it on that eruv bread. Why on that eruv bread? I mean, they said, since one mitzvah was already done with this bread, we should do another mitzvah with this bread, which is to make the bracha b'maitzi for the Shabbos to do with it. Now, we said in the Mishnah that Kitzad, how do we explain this halacha of the Mishnah of saving 3 meals worth? So the Gemara had said, the Mishnah said, Naflik Lake, if let's say the fire started, and we said it depends when the fire starts, when you're going to save 3 meals. If it happened before the Friday night meal, you'll save 3. If it happens before the Shabbos morning meal, you'll save 2. If it happens before Shabbos, you'll save 1. Now, Tarmol in the Brisa that we're going to just start today, we'll continue on the following daf, which is going to relate back to the halacha of the Mishnah. How many meals does a person have to eat on Shabbos? Now, this is interesting. Most people don't know this. Actually, by Rebbes, there's certain things regarding this opinion of Reb Chidka, but the Tanakhama says, Shalish, 3 meals. Reb Chidka oima arba. He says there's 4 meals that one's supposed to eat on Shabbos. And Rabbi Shloimy says, B'shnei makor echad darshu, both are expounding from the same pasuk. The pasuk in Shemai says, "V'yem Moshe echlu hayem," eat it today, meaning referring to the month. Ki Shabbos hayem l'shem, because today is the day of Shabbos. Again, the word hayem. Hayem lem tzitzu b'sada. Today you're not going to find it in the fields. So it says 3 times the word hayem to tell you the number of the 3 sudas. That's why the Tanakhama says there's 3 sudas on Shabbos. But Chidka sabiyad kani plus hayem, that this says 3 times the word hayem today is labar meurta, is besides for the evening, because hayem is during the daytime. In the daytime you have 3 sudas, but with the night meal you have 4. Rabbanan Sarvi, they hold no, but how do you do it? No, it's together with the night meal. So that's a machlekes regarding you have shalish sudas or you have arba sudas. That's a machlekes which we'll continue discussing on the next daf. Some of this we spoke about in today's daf and Shabbos daf Kuf Yud Zayin. We spoke about the machlekes in the halacha of a Mishnah, which relates to the halacha of our Mishnah. If you're allowed to skin all of the skin of the animal or of the Karban Pesach only up until the breast, when it's Erev Pesach that falls out to be on Shabbos. So we had a tradition that the Chacham wanted to bring a raya from our Mishnah. So originally we said, okay, are you allowed to save the Tikka Sefer with the Sefer? So shouldn't we be allowed to skin the Karban Pesach from its Because as Rashi explained, the concept is you're permitting a Tzarchi Hadid because of a Tzarchi Gevaya. So that's the same thing that we should say regarding skinning the animal. Continue skinning, because once you let your skin, you should do it all the way. Which the Gemara says, no. In our Mishnah, there's only Muktzah, D'Rabbanan. So therefore that we let Tzarchi Hadid or Tzarchi Gevaya. Here we're talking about a malacha of Havshata. How could you compare the two of them? If we let you for Muktzah, well, how does that prove a raya regarding a malacha d'oraisa? So the Gemara says, you're right. No, really, this was all from yesterday's daf, that there's a machlekes on 2 things. They're discussing regarding tiltal of muktzah, of moving the skin, and one of the malacha of shat. And Baruch Kamali, this is what the Rabban was saying, that regarding tiltal of moving it, shouldn't we be allowed to move the ar because of the basa, just like we let moving the tikka sefer with the sefer? And the Gemara says, no, it's still not the same thing. And that's what we mentioned today on top of our amid, that there, it's a basa for something that's permitted, which is sefer Torah, so it's not muktzah. Here it's a basa dava aser, which is the basa of the Karban Pesach, which is muktzah. It has no utility today on Shabbos. So the Gemara says a third approach. Says, okay, wait a second. The tick of the Sefer Torah, even though there's money inside of it, you're allowed to go ahead and save the Sefer Torah, even though that's muktzah, and it's a basis for that. So then here also you should be allowed to save the arag of the basar, which is muktzah. The Gemara says, no, it's still not the same thing. Because there it's a basis for something that's forbidden, which is the money, but it's also a basis for something that's permitted, which is the Sefer Torah. That in halachas muktzah is permitted. Here it's a basis only for a dava aser, which is the Karban Pesach. So he's still not comparable. So the Gemara says a fourth approach. The Gemara says, okay, fine. If you could bring a tick of mice from somewhere in the room to save the Sefer Torah, and that's totally basal of aser, and still you're allowed to do it with tzarchei gavai, so you could do it tzarchei gavai and save the money too. So therefore, that should be allowed to go ahead and move the muktzah item of the skin, which is a basal of aser. So the Gemara says, "Wow, we reject that because actually it's not true. You cannot take the bag with the money to save the Sefer Torah. As you're running to the Sefer Torah, you have to spill out the money. You're not allowed to go ahead and move it." And therefore, the Gemara ultimately concludes and says, "You're right. The machlekes is only regarding skinning, and not that it's rabbinic because you don't need the skin, because that would still be psikration. Everyone would agree it would be forbidden, even if you're not intending to." Rather, the Gemara concludes, how is skinning dirabanan? How is that going to be comparable to muktzah? Is because we're talking about where you took it with iron combs, where you're taking thin strips of the skin, where that's not the derech of hafshata, and if it's only rabbinic isser, and if that is comparable to the halacha of Mishnah of moving muktzah, which is a shvuz, which is only rabbinic. And therefore it's comparable. You could say if we let tzarchei gavaya to tzarchei hedid, so over here we should let from tzarchei gavaya to tzarchei hedid. Then we explained the halacha of the Mishnah. We had a machlekes. We're going, okay, where could you save the kisvei hakodesh to? So we had a machlekes if you could save it even if it's open or only if it's closed. So the Gemara says what's open and closed. So we had three different interpretations. Either they both are holding like Rabbi Eliezer, that in general you need two lechis, and here the machlekes is it enough with one lechi or not? The Gemara rejects that and says no. How can you call one lechi einem of foolish that it's not open if it's closed on all three sides with a lechi? And additionally, according to the one that holds that you need two lechis, then why you only allowed to save kisser kodesh? You're allowed to save food items too. So rather the Gemara says no. They both hold like a bihuda, and actually generally you only need two walls and two lechis. Here the machlekes is that it's going to be enough with one lechi. The Gemara rejects that too. It says wait a second, but according to the one that says it has two lechis, you should be allowed to save food. And according to bihuda, it's a bona fide mavli that has shituvim avayis. You're allowed to carry in there anything. Why only kisser kodesh? So the Gemara concludes you're right. They're both going like Rabbi Eliezer. Here the machlekes is everyone's taking a step down. Question is it one step or two steps? Machlekes is it enough with one lechi or even without any lechi at all? So therefore that's what we would call either mefulish or ain't mefulish, but that's why you only allow to save kisvei kodesh is because yes, it is closed on all three sides. But the question is, do you need to have one lechi or you don't even have any lechis at all? Then we have the halacha of the Mishnah. We have the next Mishnah that says you're allowed to say food item. We're moving on from kisvei kodesh to food item, 3 meals worth. Machlekes is that always going to be 3 meals, or only depends what time of the day, whatever meals you have left on Shabbos. Now, why is it forbidden? You're not doing anything wrong. Food is not muktzah. You're taking it to your chatzar, to your kota which has an eir. No, the reason is because since the person is overwhelmed regarding his money, he might come to violate the malach of kiboy of extinguishing the fire. And so the Gemara brought regarding if the person's barrel breaks on top of his roof, you're also not allowed to say, why not? What are you doing wrong? Because you might bring a kli derech rishos rabim and violate the malach of leitzah. That's gzeir d'rabbanan. And we said also there's no heter to bring other vessels and to get it unless if you have guests. And there's machlekes, are you allowed to make a trick that like you're having guests that are not really going to drink the wine or not? And the Gemara says not necessarily is that the same machlekes of Esav as Benai that fell into a pit on Yom Tiv, where there we also have a machlekes if it's permitted harama, because over there maybe it's aser because you're allowed to provide the animal in the pit, whereas here there's nothing to do with the barrel of wine. Maybe you're allowed to go ahead. Or maybe the other way around. Maybe there it's permitted over there because of tzar balechayim. So therefore that's why we let you take out the other animal. Here there's no tzar balechayim. Maybe it would be us. So it's not necessarily the same machlekes tanoim. Then we spoke about saving. If you save clean bread, you're allowed to save coarse bread because obviously you have 3 meals worth. But if you save coarse bread, you're allowed to save clean bread because you still need it for the shalosh shudas. Also, you're allowed to save from Yom Kippurim to Shabbos, but not from Shabbos to Yom Kippurim. Then we said related. Let's say you forgot bread in the oven. You could quote save 3 meals worth, but you cannot take down with the marda, because like we said, as much as possible you change because it's what's known as uvdin the chayil. You now do a weekday activity on Shabbos. And we said we ended over at certain halachas of Shabbos. A person should always get up early on Friday to take care of the things for Shabbos. He has to make what's called lechem mishnah, which are the 2 loaves of bread. However, we saw that although you make the bracha on both because that's laktu, but the actual breaking the bread was on one. Also, the pieces of bread would be very large pieces, but that's like Shabbos. And also, if they had Erev bread, they would use it. Once you did one mitzvah, we would do another mitzvah. And then we ended off, which we're going to discuss in the next stuff, regarding actually how many sudas are you obligated to eat on Shabbos. Machlekes if it's 3 or 4 sudas on Shabbos. Thank you to any time for hosting us.